It's not yet sunrise here in DC, but I've already been up for a couple hours, musing over those existential questions we often have in the middle of the night. Why am I here? What is my purpose? Have I fucked up my life? Should I have been doing things differently? What do I actually know? Those proverbial and quite literal in this instance, naked questions. And I think it's good to be asking these questions. I think it's important. We really question our fundamental beliefs about what do we know? Who are we? Are we on the right path? I really do wonder, is this something that everybody does? Because I watch people in positions of power and authority. I look at some of these individuals who hold great sway over the populace, and they don't seem often to be terribly self-reflective. I see these people making choices that are often very selfish and sometimes harming others, harming the planet, harming the environment. I don't see them having moments of existential angst and wondering, should I not pollute? Should I not fuck over this whole portion of the American population? So I think questioning is a very good thing. But it's also hard to wrangle with this idea of, should I have chosen a different life? Like, take me for example. I'm here naked, which I love. Like, I love sharing my authentic full self with you. I think a tremendous amount is communicated through our naked bodies. I think it communicates trust, vulnerability, authenticity. I think we'd be a lot happier and healthier of a society if we didn't cover ourselves all the time, if we were able to be fully naked with each other. I think we'd find much more connection, less isolation. If we weren't always keeping our sexual lives and our sexual bits always so private and hidden, we'd have less shame, less bad behavior acting out, less toxic and rape culture sort of stuff, because people feel so suppressed and oppressed in their bodies and told that they're shameful and wrong. Like, I really do fundamentally believe that this is important. But I also realize in doing this, I have shut the door on many opportunities. I'm never going to be a politician. I'm never going to have a corporate job again. Which, cry me a river, I hate corporate world. I would not want to go back if I had to. I'll never get a little more close to home. I'll never get hired to speak at Google or at some awesome conference because the way I present online is too taboo. It is too sexualized. It is too naked. I'm not respectable. Somebody who has my number of social media followers would be getting lots of sponsorships and free stuff and sponsored videos. I pretty much don't. And I never sought that out. That wasn't ever my purpose in starting a YouTube channel or getting online. It's not something I was aiming for. But I also realize that the choices I've made have prevented these other choices. And we're always doing that. We choose our values, not only by what we choose, but what we give up in those choices. We can't do everything. We can't be everything. What are you willing to forsake to get what you want? And for me, I want to help people connect with themselves, live more authentically in a more integrated way. Because that's been my journey. That's what has been most interesting to me, is learning to have a more embodied, a more joyful, a more fulfilled life. But I know, there was this guy I went to high school with. Super, super smart, very talented, very articulate. An asshole, but brilliant, good looking, and from a wealthy family. And of course, he went to very, very prestigious schools. And I came across his Twitter profile recently. And one, I didn't understand half the shit he was talking about. 3/4 of it, because it was all about crypto and things I have no interest in and have never explored. But two, I looked at him having recently been a guest speaker for the Heritage Foundation. And that is a life choice I do not regret. I think those individuals are pretty abysmal, that those are people who I wish would reflect more on their life choices, because their choices hurt far more people than they help. And so I look at this person who, at one point, our timelines were very close together, and now they're not. And even though he seems to continue to be very brilliant and very smart and very successful, I would not choose that life. When I was younger, I really would have happily been anyone else. I did not want to be me, and I do feel really grateful that most days now I would choose my life, my experience over anyone else's. But that doesn't mean I don't ask questions and think, what if I'm wrong about all this? What if me prioritizing these things that I thought mattered was the wrong choice? What if I get to the end of my life, whether that's in a few weeks or a few years or a few decades, and say, oh, you messed it all up. You messed it all up, Kaelan. And those are questions that sometimes poke at me a little bit. Not that I really feel like I would have chosen a radically different path in life. But I think about people that I've lost along the way. I think about opportunities that I gave up or missed or opted out of. You know, what would it have been like for me had I chosen to never get naked on YouTube or to have an OnlyFans or do that kind of shit? Would I have had other opportunities that I'm now missing? What if I'm wrong altogether about the whole, what matters most in life is relationships we share, dwelling in joy, making the world a better place, finding your own inner peace? What if those aren't actually our priorities? I don't think I'm wrong about this, but what if the answer really is whoever has the most stuff and makes the most money wins? Like, in my soul, I don't believe it's true, but I think it's worth asking, what if? What if what I believe is wrong? What if the choices I've made are wrong? What if I could have done differently? One of the theories in this kind of multiverse paradigm is that every single choice we make, the trillions upon billions upon Googleplexes of choices we make over the course of our life, each choice spins out a new universe, a new alternate reality. And so that there's a countless number of variations of ourself existing simultaneously, having made different choices. A movie that explored this idea really beautifully was Everything Everywhere All at Once. Great, great film. And am I living in, well, maybe not my highest timeline, but a really good timeline? And what does a really good timeline even mean? I think that was a really beautiful point of that film, was this version of this woman who owns a laundromat and is getting audited by the IRS ended up being one of the most powerful timelines, even though there were other choices she could have made to become an opera singer or to become a kung fu master or to become a movie star. This ordinary life ended up being one of the most powerful ones. I look at my life and I'm so grateful for my partnership. I'm so grateful for the people that I get to interact with and to hear your stories and to feel like what I offer maybe makes a modicum of difference in your life in some small way. I genuinely do feel that in the brief time I've been on this planet, all 37 years, I think I've left it a little bit better than I found it. I feel like I have perhaps brought a little more joy, a little more empathy, a little more light to people's lives. And that feels really good. But it doesn't mean I don't question, could I have done better? And I'm not saying I would want to choose differently, or I could have chosen differently, or I want to make different choices moving forward. I do feel like the way I live is very aligned for me, but I still think it is worth asking the questions. Because in the process of asking, what if I'm wrong? Could I be doing better? It creates space. It creates opportunity for us to view new angles on ourselves. And it makes sure that we retether our actions to our values, to our mission statement, and that as I move forward, I remain an active participant in my life, actively choosing things that feel in alignment with my highest good and the highest good of others around me, rather than just being a passive, floating by person who just does whatever others tell him or accepts whatever is being told to him. I want to make sure that I live with as few regrets as possible. And as I've said many times, most often the biggest regrets we have are not for the things we've done, but for the things we didn't try, the choices we didn't feel bold enough to make. And whether I've made stupid decisions or not, present moments included, at least I followed something that felt in alignment with me. Living isn't easy. It may be so much easier if it came with a guidebook, a rule book, a map to follow. I sometimes envy those people who were raised in households that gave them a fundamentalist view of religion and reality, and there being a clear right and wrong, and all you have to do is follow this one path and all will be well. I mean, I don't envy them because I think that life is terrible. But there's a certainty that comes with those lives. There's this feeling of righteousness, of all I had to do was this. It makes life easier. Not having to deal with ambiguity in some ways is easier. And I would say I often think some of the most evolved people I know are the people who have dwelled in every perspective, that they've gotten comfortable in the gray, that nothing's black and white. They've learned to muck around and say yes and yes this and also this. There are many right answers, and oftentimes two right answers can seemingly be contradictory, and yet they're both true. I like those people. I aspire to be one of those people. I aspire to be somebody with a great deal of compassion, forgiveness, love, joy, peace, and I'm going to continue to do my naked best to live in the way that I think will create that for myself and for others. The sky is starting to get a little bit lighter out there. I guess that means it's time to grab the dogs and go take them for their morning walk. But thank you for joining me in my pre-dawn ramblings this morning. I hope it inspires you to ask some really tough questions for yourself of why am I choosing what I do? Should I be choosing differently? Am I proud of the life I live? And so on and so forth. And if you like these kind of questions and want somebody to sit there with you to go through it, feel free to reach out to me because that's what I do for everybody. It's my job. I'm a spiritual life coach. And if you'd like to see more of this, feel free to head over to Patreon. You can get access to the uncensored version, but also more behind the scenes of my life, what's going on for me, early access to my videos, and a bunch of other great stuff. So thank you for sitting with me this morning. I'm Kaelan. Be blessed, be well, and thank you so much for your heart. Bye-bye.